Good morning, Solaris 7. Calgary Battletech brings you Uncivil Discourse with your hosts, Brett, Lee, and commentary from Jacques. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our regular scheduled show. We hope the turkeyitis is gone. Your little ghouls and goblins are calming down after Halloween, and life is getting back on track for you as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting a few more game days under our belt before the Christmas break. Oh, and then I'm looking forward to that playoff fever.
We're at the halfway point, boys and girls. 7th inning stretch. Who's going to sit where in the standings? It's a ball game in the air. Again, hope you all had a safe and happy Halloween, good Thanksgiving, and remember, most importantly, to have paid your respects on November 11th.
This week's special announcements, I'd like to give a shout out to Stephen Barton, who this week announced that the very first season of the Edmonton Battletech League will be starting next spring. Good luck, Stephen, and we look forward to hearing about how that comes along. And, for all of our Calgary Battletech fans, we'll be keeping everyone updated as to its progress, because we're hoping that someday we can turn this into a truly Alberta experience and have a Alberta champion.
Now that we are over halfway through our season, I wanted to thank everyone who's been participating. On a personal note, I'm not sure what I was looking for or expecting when this idea came to me last year. However, despite all the extra work organizing and driving this project forward I take great pleasure that you're all interested and enjoying our little league. So thank you and keep on having a good time, everybody.
Well, that's a great announcement, knowing that Stephen's going to be setting something up for our city to the north, Edmonton. The Battle of Alberta will be alive and well. And it's not going to be played by two hockey teams either. Wish you loads of luck, Stephen. Hope you can get your community together and we can start beating each other up down the road. Halfway point, boys and girls. Who's going to take it? It's still up in the air.
Week 5 had some very devastating games played out, with almost half of the game showing an entire lance wiped, smoldering in the dirt. This is where we are going to start seeing those kills for and kills against really start playing a factor in the overall standings. Game 1, we see the Crimson Ronin took to the plains, hunting some Cobra Chickens on one of our custom maps. Much shooting, more dice rolling, and some back-and-forth moments in this game led to a 1-0 victory for our youngest of stable managers. Congratulations, Alex, and the Crimson Ronin. Jacques, why don't you tell us a little bit about this one?
Oh, this was ugly. I don't know if there was something wrong with the Cobra Chickens targeting computers or they just weren't feeling it. But they could not hit the broadside of a barn. It was ugly, and there was no cohesiveness in this week's play. They were putting shots everywhere. They just could not pair things up. This was not a good scene for the Cobra Chickens, and if they're going to keep playing like this, they ain't going to be here for the playoffs. That's definitely for sure. They seriously need to pick them up. That being said, the fact that Crimson Ronin, rookie stable, took out one of the veteran stables, good on him.
Yeah, I got to pay some close attention to a lot of the games this week, as my game was played outside of regular game day. What I saw was a really good bounce back by the Crimson Ronin. After playing so tentatively against the Merrick's Marauders teams, they came back really aggressive, really pushed that LB-20X into the forefront, and then moved his mechs into situations where he had lots of cover, and the Cobra Chickens were left out in the open taking fire. It looked like it could have been a really close game and really tight win for either side, but I got to give it to the rookie. Well done, Alex.
Our second match to highlight this week was an out-of-town game. The Ghost Legion trucked out to Blitzkrieg Jezebel's home turf to face them on the River Valley map. Lee, you were an observer for most of this game. Why don't you give us some perspective on how it played out before we visit the score?
I was absolutely dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. One moment the game looked like it was even and in hand, and it actually even looked like the Ghost Legion was starting to push the Jezebels into a bad position where your skills are really going to start taking effect there, Brett. And then all of a sudden, that Warhammer just fell to pieces. And shortly thereafter, your Wolverine took it on the chin as well. In the end, the game could have been a little bit closer, except for a slight miscalculation on the gunslinger's distance away from the Devastator and put himself at 18 hexes away, where you took a PPC shot to the head, destroying both sensors in one shot, which took the weapon systems out of your gunslinger.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest game changer right there. Is at that point the gunslinger is still super dangerous, except he was supposed to land at 19 hexes, not 18. This game ended in a 4-1 Jezebel's victory. Heather really bringing home the bacon today. Game number 3, when a sun creeps over the red peaks, the Red Sons Irregulars really rain down hell on the Dracona Spirits. Maybe we shouldn't let a lance fight in what could be considered their namesake battlefield, but it turned out to be a 4-2 victory for the Irregulars.
Red Sons Irregulars had the game not well in hand throughout the entire one. There was a couple of situations where the Dracona Spirits threw some seriously devastating firepower into the Red Sons mechs and just about turned it around. They're awesome, spent quite a bit of time laying on its face early on, but was able to absorb enough fire that the Stalker and the other mechs for the Dracona Spirits were able to throw some damage out. It could have been a much closer game, but there were a couple of really good head capping shots that kind of sealed the deal for the Red Sun Irregulars.
Yeah, this one was a back and forth. Red Peaks, that's just one of the ugly maps. It's a scary one to have the forces go against each other. But it was fairly well back and forth. I've got to agree with that. Hard fought and well-earned 4-2 victory for the Irregulars.
I got a feeling that this might have played a little bit into some of the skill spends that we saw this week. There's been very few, so we'll go through them throughout the episode instead of at the beginning or near the end. The Red Sons Irregulars, Victor, has been reassigned into an awesome 9M. Their Centurion picks up bribery, and then that awesome picks up anticipation. So I'm seeing some peaking sunrise for those Red Sons Irregulars coming down the future. Game number 4, also across the River Valley, Cavalier Commandos face off against the Einherjar. Only seconds into the match, the Dragonfire puts a gauze rifle right through the cockpit canopy of the Thunderbolt. Cavaliers down, one mech early, managed to claw their way back. This game ends in a 2-2 tie. Only tie game this week. It's nice to see that games are playing out in a more definitive way.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, Brett. One of the things I want to comment, almost all of the games played this past week hit the 14 and higher number of rounds. That's really good sign of people getting comfortable with the skills, getting comfortable with the pace of play. Individual initiative can definitely slow things down if you don't understand it, so people getting back into being able to use it and becoming comfortable with it makes a big difference. I thought the Einherjar had it in the bag. Early on, put a gauze rifle round through the Thunderbolt. I thought he had it. Good on the Cavaliers being able to pull it back together and pull out a tie.
This was just an amazing game to watch. 30 seconds into the match, and the Dragonfire is like, now watch this drive. And down goes the Thunderbolt. That was beautiful. Great shot. You know, it wasn't one-sided even after that. I mean, 2-2 tie. You can't ask for a more better outcome of such a hard-fought game.
I was really impressed with what I heard about this game. I almost wonder if the Cavalier Commandos spends from this week had been put in a little earlier and been a factor. It might have been a different outcome. Cavalier Commandos, Phoenix Hawk picks up mobile fire. Cavalier Commandos, Thunderbolt picking up personal vendetta. And Cavalier Commandos, Trebuchet picking up anticipation. All of those are gunnery affecting skills, so we're going to see Cavalier Commandos having a really good match next week. Game number 5, Carstairs Stables creep through the wooded hills like Little Red Riding Hood headed to Grandma's house. However, Riston's rogues are laying in wait just like the big bad wolf. While the boys from Carstairs are the first ones to take out the Riston rogues Banshees, it's been enough of a victory because that's what they were calling out for. Riston's rogues take down twice that many mechs. 2-1 victory for the rogues.
We're looking at the second best, if not the best team in the league, the Riston's Rogues. They're the cream. They're going to keep rising. Mackenzie, you better be ready because he's coming. While the Carstairs Stables threw some really good firepower at the Riston Rogues mechs, taking out that Banshee is a definite feather in the cap. We're going to have to do better against these top teams, all of us. I see in the final 2-3 games, we see a lot of top teams hammering at each other. So it's going to get ugly over the next 2-3 weeks.
I'm going to have to correct you there, Brett. While that might have been the first Banshee taken down, it wasn't for lack of trying. If you remember the flipping and flopping about the executive decision Banshee from past 2 matches, almost taking itself out. But again, good on the Rogues for dropping a Banshee. That seems to be a boogeyman mech that everybody's kind of afraid of. So it's nice to see that it can be killed.
Game number 6, we see the Killer Bunnies run circles around the first Clovis Lancers in one of our default arenas, management having misplaced the keys to all the other stables for the moment. This match starts off slow, and then with a bang, the Lancer's Wolverine blows out his mask and kills a jump jet in one leg, lower leg actuator in the other. That's going to hamper it all day long. With a firm target lock lancing multiple double shots from the Ultra AC-5, the Wolverine just keeps hunching the Bunny's Dragonfire. They close, the Wolverine jumps into position in some hills, and blows the landing, falling on its face, losing the target lock. Sensing blood in the water, the Wolverine staggers back to its feet. The mountaineering Dragonfire walks up the hill, one elevation higher, lines up the kick to the head, but the Wolverine pilot, screaming over the comms, "It's coming straight for me!" lances the head, and the Dragonfire falls, cockpitless, instead. Stepping up to support the other mechs, the Bunny Zeus heads into the fray. They take a pounding to the Devastator, but it just won't drop. That 110 meaty goodness there, so good. First Clovis Lancers walk away with some Bunny stew and a 2-0 victory when time expires on the clock.
Yeah, that's a good game. Really good game. Anytime you see the kind of crits that were happening, failed mask checks, piloting checks, I hear that the Killer Bunny's use of Erratic Pilot protected the Zeus from quite a bit of damage, even when it couldn't create much of a defensive modifier on its own. And all in all, it sounds like that match went back and forth. A 2-0 victory sounds like a good one for the Clovis Lancers, but it sounded like that match came very close to being a Bunny's win.
You know, say what you want about all the Wolverines we've got in the league this season. These Devastators, they're just evil. I mean, between the Lancers, you've got Jezebels have them, Hubris has it. I mean, that seems to be the mech that this season is even more scary than the Atlas. I mean, these mechs have been unstoppable. And it'll be interesting to see if in future seasons, how many stable masters keep that in mind and use the Devastator themselves if it's allowed in their lists.
Game number 7, Shitehawk Stables gains a victory here this week, folks. In the sense they were able to walk a mech off the field of battle after facing off against Hubris Inc. Michael, the team manager, manages to keep Mackenzie from killing all of his mechs, a feat most of her opponents have failed to do so far. 3-2 victory for Hubris Inc. in the Foothills Arena.
This was called ahead of time, that the Hubris Inc. was going to walk all over the Shitehawks. They didn't. 3-2 is a darn close game. Michael should be very proud of himself and take this as a learning example of how to continue on in League. Get in there, fight the fight, never give up. If you've got time left to start that round, if you've only got one mech left, stay in the fight. Fight it out. Try to get the win. If anything, those kills for and against are going to make a big difference in the standings. We've got to play these games out, people. Never surrender. It's just a simulator. You're not paying for the machines. You're not writing the dear mom, dear dad, your pilots have died. Get in there and play the game.
That's a good one for the Shitehawks. Rookie stable coming up against a more veteran player. He made a good showing of it, and that's all you can really ask. 3-2, it's not a shellacking. I mean, it's not like she completely executed every single one of his mechs. So, yeah, Michael can hold his head up high on this one.
Taking us into Game 8, I seem to remember reading a bunch of smack talk and bravado coming out before this game was played. Lee's Merrick Marauders faced off against the 55th Shadow Division in Arena 10, the Plains of Death. Jacques, you talk a lot. What do you have to say about this showdown?
Nope.
Oh, steamroll. That's all I gotta say for the Wobs. I mean, the smack talk that went down, yeah, Lee, king of talk shit, get hit. That was just glorious. And just some of the things that happened during the game itself. I mean, the execution by the shootist. I mean, just walked up and boom, you're done. Like, I'm sorry, that was funny to watch.
Well, I'd like to say the North is playing the best games possible. My dice abandoned me. And a couple of really good shots off of Steven's mechs. His Victor walking up behind my Archer and just shooting him in the back of the head. Pretty lame introduction for that mech to the league for me. The Centurion sacrificing himself, trying to hold off 2 mechs with autocannon 20s, went about as well as you could be expected. Down it went in the first round of fire. I really can't say I did anything well in that game. My dice just failed. I kept my ground and made him beat me, but in the end, that's exactly what he did. 4-1 win for the 55th Shadow Division.
Both of these players have submitted skill points this week. We see Merrick Marauder Centurion picking up Personal Vendetta with that AC 20 that it mounts, and the 55th Shadow Division Victor picks up Target Lock. So should be a little bit more AC 20 accuracy coming downfield as of the rest of the season. Game number 9, our final match this week. I think the executive outcome has their stable housed here. This will be the 3rd time in 5 games we see them march onto the Fortress map, one of our custom concrete showdowns. This is the one that they flippity-floppity and landed all over their face on the property map. They do much better this time than they did last time against the Einherjar earlier in the season. 4-1 executive outcome.
One of the best parts about this match, listening to JP help educate the new player on some of the league rules and some of the tactics. This is the kind of play and sportsmanship I would like to see, where set veterans who know the game, know league play, even when they're struggling with some of the rules themselves. Some of the newer rules that have come in with league, like individual initiative, and some more set rules that people just haven't been paying attention to, like the anti-missile system. -4 to that cluster table for the number of shots that hit, and only 1 ammo used. Total change over the way the old rules were done. Way to go, JP. Glad to see you get in there and help school some of the new players.
Well, it was nice to see that they finally put the concrete and pavement gripping foot actuators on the executive outcomes mechs. That was great to see them stay on their feet rather than going flat on their face or on their back. And I'm going to agree with Lee. That shout out to JP. Round of applause for JP. That is what this league is all about. The spirit of friendly competition. Yes, you might want your name on that trophy, but friendly competition. That's the main thing.
All right, so this week, let's hear from Jacques and what he has to say, and if there's any awards that stick out in his mind.
Oh boy, boys and girls, have we got some fun ones for you today. We're going to start off, as mentioned in the breakdown of the fights, 55th Shadow Division versus the Merrick Marauders. Merrick Marauders,
Talk shit, get hit.
they got thumped. They got beat like a redheaded stepchild. Back to their stable, tail between their legs. Second one is going to be a tie between the Einhiljar match and the Cavalier Commandos. And again, 55th Shadow Division and the Merrick Marauders. Both matches awarding...
Do you wish to delete?
Deleted. Thank you for playing.
That Gauss rifle shot to the head of the Thunderbolt 30 seconds into the match, and the execution of the Merrick Marauder Archer. That's it for this week. Let's see what next week brings.
All right, fight fans, this week our special guest interview is the man behind the Cobra Chickens, the myth, the mayhem, the training wheels extraordinaire. Let's see what Lee and John have to say this week.
This week on Uncivil Discourse, our interview is going to be with Mr. John Wilcox, who is a longtime player of League. Matter of fact, he's been in all 3 iterations of League and has actually been around longer than I have. John, welcome to the interview.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here. Very honored to be interviewed. Thank you.
The way the interviews go is that I'll ask you a series of questions, usually around 5, and we'll just have a conversation around each question. So let's jump right into question number 1. You've been with League for at least, I would say, in total, the entire time would be pretty close to 12 years. And that's a bit of a guess on my part. I don't know when you started before I did.
I started in Stu's League. I don't know if I was not in first season. I think I came in second season. That was all Dave Marshall's fault because he was talking about playing the League, and I had actually stopped playing Battletech at that point, but wanted to get back into it. So I just started playing with Dave and I think his friend Sean, and just to get myself back and going. And then, I hopped into the League with both feet and met all the rest of the reprobates in the community, and it's been a wild ride since.
Yeah, you've been one of our most loyal participants, and we really enjoy having you with us. Moving on to question number 2. So, what changes in League do you enjoy? And that's including Bruce's League and the original League, and of course this new one. And what ones would you like to see changed?
All 3 leagues have had they've all had their own flavors. Stu's League was great because, you were playing with pure custom mechs. I mean, you'd get Stu would put it together for you based on your suggestions or giving him miniatures, so he had no choice but to give you the loadouts you wanted. Bruce's was more storyline oriented and stayed within the actual rule sets, and it took more of the business side of things where you are a stable master. You have to worry about repairs. You have to worry about your pilots getting ganked and all that. And then the current League is sort of a melding of the two. We don't have to worry about the repairs. We don't have to worry about the pilot deaths. We're using pretty much the standard rules, and it's got the skills and the flavor of Stu's League. So the current incarnation of the League is a very good melding of the 2 previous ones.
Yeah, we actually, with this nostalgic version of League, at least that's what I'm calling it, we decided to pull back on the customization of the initial mechs, mainly for admin headaches, as well as to make sure that everybody felt comfortable that they were being put on the same playing field at the same level as everyone else that was playing. Sure, there were certain factions that might have the mech you really wanted, while the faction that was available to you didn't have it, but at least you knew that everyone had access to that stupid Wolverine, and everybody had access to some kick-ass machine. So, moving on to our 3rd question, what's your claim to fame within League?
Failing every single piloting skill I could possibly do, although this season that seems to be going away from me. I'm making them more often than I'm failing them, which has me kind of scared. But I don't know. I think my first claim to fame was my first season. I started off Spinward Conference because I was coming back off a 8 to 9 year hiatus from the game. Didn't want to jump in with the big boys. Wanted to get my feet wet. And for the first half of the season, I stomped on everybody and had the choice to jump up to the core word A side. And I did. And it was the fates decided, oh, really? We're going to stomp on your hubris. And I did not win a game after that. And I think it was a universal nomination for the Phoenix Hawk Award that year. I even nominated myself because I was stupid. But I think that was sort of my claim to fame. And then just the humor that I would cause. The one season I played where they brought in the elementals and everybody was saying that, elementals are going to give the clanners a complete disadvantage. And I'm like, well, no, I'm just going to kill every elemental I see. I didn't win a single game that season, but proved my point. I killed every elemental point I faced and a few Crusader Clan Mech Warriors because, as I found out before they nerfed it, tandem charge warheads and armor-piercing ammo makes enhanced imaging clanners' brains melt.
I'm quite sure there's a few pilots or a few stable masters that really didn't look forward to playing against you.
They might have been able to think they're going to get the easy win, but yeah, I'm going to make it hard for you.
All right, so moving on to the next question. Who's been your greatest opponent?
I've sat across the table from so many great players. Lorianne, Bruce, you, Jeff, Dave Marshall. There are so many out there. I mean, there are some players that I truly fear. Bruce, when his dice are hot, that's when I'm usually losing a leg all the time, or I'm losing my head. There have been so many people that have been great to play against, just because it's been fun. I mean, even Steven in this league. I mean, North versus South, good versus evil, light versus dark. He was a blast to play. I mean, it's just been enjoyable. But again, I'd have to say my worst opponent is myself, because I will admit that do get a little frustrated when the game's not going my way. I want to win like the best of everybody. It's a constant battle between myself. It's like, hey, it's only a damn game, moron. Just flow with it. And no, I want that trophy. That's the light and the dark of myself, so to speak. But yeah, it's been, all the opponents I faced have been just amazing.
What I would find most gratifying in League is to be remembered. Just in the Battletech community in general. I'm never going to be a grand champion. I'm never going to be the best player. I'm always going to be the journeyman. And all I want to have someday is, if I ever retire from playing Battletech or something else happens and I'm no longer allowed to be part of League for whatever reason, I want people to remember me for a long time. And I'm going to say this, you're going to be remembered for as long as League exists as a core member, as a longtime member, and with some of the worst luck anybody has ever seen on the table.
Infamous, notorious, and famous, all three. All right, I'll take that.
So, to finish this off, do you have anything that you'd like to say to your future opponents and any fellow leaguers out there?
As much as I'd love to try and sound like, the great Hulk Hogan or Macho Man Randy Savage and smack talk everybody, just keep the community alive. Keep it coming. The community was so close-knit, and then it fractured so badly. And it has slowly but surely come back to not 100% what it was, but I'd have to say we're about at 75 to 80%. That's the big thing. Like, this game has been around for so long. Our game has survived so many corporate changes, so many incarnations, but yet we are still the most welcoming community out of any of the gaming communities out there. We are, in my opinion, it is my opinion, this is my belief there, now I can't be sued. We have the least amount of elitist mindsets in any of the major miniature role-playing game communities out there. We are there to have a good time. We will pull together if there's an event for the food banks. If someone in the community needs help, they're there. And that's just what I want to say to everybody. Let's keep this community going. That doesn't matter whose name's on that trophy. Let's just keep the spirit of the community going as strong as we possibly can. We're going to lose members like my friend Mike McPherson, who passed away. I started playing with him in 1988. I was so excited that he was getting back into Battletech, and was hoping he would have been a member of the league, but sadly he left us far too soon. But yeah, that's the major thing I want to say to all the players out there, regardless of whether I'm going to face them across the table or not. Let's just keep this community, let's keep this family going. That's the big thing.
John, thank you so much. That's exactly how everybody who becomes a member of this league and becomes a leaguer feels, as far as anything I've ever been able to see, is that they just want to keep the community going. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And
no problem. Thanks for having me.
And I look forward to being able to talk to you again, and see you in a week.
See you in a week.
Let's take a moment and visit our scoreboard for anyone not familiar with where the stables are sitting. We have an 18 stable league, and we'll have a single elimination playoffs starting in January, with the top 8 stables battling it out for the best overall.
The next 3 weeks are going to be the big ones. This is the home stretch. This is the run for the playoffs. This is where anything can happen. You can have your top teams. If they get a bad run of luck, down they go. You can have bottom teams have a great run of luck. Up they go. The middle of the pack, they can go up, they can go down. This is the important weeks. This is the run to the playoffs.
And this will lead us into week 6 matches. And with only 3 games left, we're going to start seeing those playoffs being hard fought over, and placements in the standings starting to get a little bit more clear to everyone to guess and to figure out. Moving into game number 1, the 55th Shadow Division, 4 wins, 1 loss, and 0 ties, and they're currently rocking that 3rd place in the standings, is flying down to catch themselves some Clan Cobra Chickens. It's Chickens. With a record of 2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 tie. Let's see how this one plays out, as both players are looking to secure those playoff slots. I'm going to have to say in this one, after what's been going on with the 55th Shadow Division, John, you need to get in there and make this win. I don't care if you have to cheat, lie, steal, start cutting actuator hoses, whatever you got to do. You got to get this win, man.
55th Shadow is out to prove something, I think. They want a playoff spot this year, and will outpluck a win from the local Clan Cobra Chickens. If John can play a strong, concentrated fire and get past his fear of the cicada, I think he's got a chance here. I'm calling this out as a 4-2 Shadow win, though.
Well, boys and girls, not wanting to spoil the fun, this was an early game playout, as agreed to by both stables. It was played this past week, and your old Uncle Jacques had the benefit of being there. I'll give you the full blow-by-blow, play-by-play, who's crying what and where next week. But I will notice that there is definitely not going to be a talk shit and get hit award, because there's been no back and forth between the teams. It's almost as if they respect each other. They fear each other. But then again, this is the Wobs versus the Pirates. This is light versus dark. This is good versus evil. This is the possibility of mass hysteria of dogs and cats living together. So stand by for next week.
I think, John, you were just afraid of peeing in the wind. It'll just come right back to you.
Game number 2 sees the Blitzkrieg Jezebels. 3 wins, 0 losses, 2 ties. And still undefeated, they're going to be looking to keep flying high here. They're paired up against the Macross Stables, which have 0 wins, 3 losses, and 2 ties this week. My prediction, Heather's going to just keep steamrolling all of us, guys. If we don't stand up and do our jobs, she's going to be in the top 3, I think. And then we're going to see potentially a all-female championship run here.
After their 4-1 loss to the Executive Outcome, I think Macross Stables are going to be all in. They've had a pretty rough season, but they're new to the league and one of our rookie stables. This might be a bit of a cage match, or a cagey match. I think the experienced Jezebels are going to come blitzing in with a 3-2 win here, though.
Oh, this one's going to be interesting. I think it's going to come down to maps. Both teams have got a lot of skill spins in. Both teams seem to be hungry for a win. I'm going to call this one for the Jezebels 3-2 as well. I don't think it's going to be a beatdown, but I don't think the Macross Stables are going to get their first win.
Moving on to game number 3. The sun might be about to set here, folks. Well, at least the red sun. As the Red Sun Irregulars, 1 win, 3 losses and a tie, who are high up in the sky after beating the Dracona Spirits last week, run smack dab into the Ghost Legion. 1 win, 3 losses and a tie. Well, my notes here say I'm supposed to say something about your poor standings, Brett, and you know what? I'm going to have to. You have been mathematically determined that you need to win the next 3 games. And I'm seeing a loss in your future, but I don't think it's going to be this game. My money's on you, Brett. Ghost Legion for the win, 2-1.
Both of these stables have a high kill against standing. The Red Suns have lost a bunch of mechs in 5 games, and the Ghost Legion walking away with a bunch of smoldering junk heaps as well so far. Neither player is afraid to go balls to the walls and all in here. I think it's going to be, I'm going to probably call it a 4-2 victory, although I could also see it being a 4-3 victory. But I think I've got this one coming home to roost for me.
Nope.
Oh, can the Saskabush boys do it here or not? Both teams have got the same record, 1-3-1. Law of averages states that someone is going to come away with a win. Now, who it's going to be, it's going to come down to luck. I think that's what it is purely going to be. Who Lady Luck blesses that match. I'm going to have to give this one to the Ghost Legion. It's going to be, I'm thinking 2-1. It's going to be a low score, but it's going to be a win for the Ghosts.
Props to Jock for not calling for a tie.
Fourth on the list this week, Kevlar Commandos, 1 win, 2 losses, 2 ties. Come off of 2 ties, facing off against the Young Guns from Crimson Ronin. 2 wins, 2 losses, and a tie. Am I reading this right? Is your son doing better than you, Brett?
It absolutely is. So is the Killer Bunnies.
Yeah, well, it looks like you train good mech warriors. So, on my bet on this one, this is the game for our up-and-comers. These are the guys that are going to be either, if not this season, seeing some moves in the playoffs, they're the guys that are going to be pulling in the upper middle pack up into the top rungs next year. My guess on this one, I'm going to say the Young Guns from the Crimson Ronin got a taste of a win, and they're going to keep at it. I'm going to say Crimson Ronin 3-0.
That's pretty interesting prediction. Now, I know for a fact the Commando stable manager has been playing Battletech for longer than the Ronin manager has been alive. So it should be a good match to watch regardless. Because Dave's one of my oldest friends, and Alexander, the Ronin manager, is my kid. So I'm pretty interested to see how this plays out. I kind of almost want to reschedule my match just so I can sit and watch, but we'll see what goes. The Commandos might break their tie streak and put the Ronin in their place, though. Going to be a low-scoring game coming out of here, folks. Let's go with the Commandos 2-1 victory.
Oh, this one's going to be a fun one to watch. Boomers versus Zoomers. Youth and Speed versus Old Age and Treachery. Which one is going to finally prove the better to come out on top? It's going to be a fun game to watch. I think after watching Alex play and how his stable is doing, he's got a good grasp on things. Again, this one's going to come down to luck and how the dice roll it. But I'm going to have to give it by an edge to Dave and his Commandos with a 2-1 win as well.
Moving on to game number 5. The Einhajar, 1 win, 2 losses, and 2 ties. The Free Rozalogs poster boys are going after the Arcana Spirits. 0 wins, 5 losses, 0 ties. Who are moving in from Comstar? Who's to say how this one's going to play out? In my guess, the Einhajar are going to actually pull out another win, getting them that much closer to playoff status. The Arcana Spirits are going to throw some serious damage. I think they're finally getting their mechs under control and their skills under control. That last game, they played a really good game. It actually was really close. So, but I am going to say the Einhajar are going to give it a 2-1 win. I'm going to keep the scores low because I think the number of turns isn't going to be up there. But I think 2-1 for the Einhajar is a fair bet.
Well, given the track records these two stables have, I think the Einhajar Dragonfire is going to claim another trophy. I'm rooting for the underdogs on this one, I hope it's a 2-1 Draconis victory. I know they'll be happy to take down 2 of the Einherjar mechs, though. This one is going to be called Einherjar 3-2 victory. I think they're going to push it.
I swear, you two butcher the Einhilyar's name just to make me twitch. Gods.
That's about as close as I can get, man.
Cultured swine. Oh, this one's going to be another one. The Einhilyar, the boys out of the FRR, are on a bit of a hot streak. They're coming up. If they can just keep their focus, and if they have a setback, they have a setback. But if they just keep their eyes on the prize, I think they're going to come out on top on this one. I'm going to agree, 3-2 for the Einhilyar.
Moving on to game number 6, which I personally think is the other game of the season, and everybody needs to be watching this one. There's one other game this week, which is my top pick for game of the year. We're going to see the first Clovis Lancers, 2 wins, 2 losses, and a tie, and the Carstairs Stables, 2 wins, 2 losses, and a tie. Another pair of stables with matching scores. These are a pair of new players this season. Both have been super eager to be involved, and are both stable managers have been showing gusto for the season so far, doing a great job learning their skills. League skills are hard to understand sometimes. It takes a little bit of reading, and we're going to see some real progression on these guys. I'm going to go with, just looking at the way I've been seeing these guys play, Carstairs Stables 3-2.
That's right, Lee. Both Matt and Aaron have been doing a ton of homework coming up to the playoffs, trying to research their opponents before almost every game. I fielded questions from both of these stable managers. They look to find strengths and weaknesses. They've both scrapped their way into playoff possibilities. As it sits, looks like one or both have a chance of making it. The top 8 is far from set, with 3 games to go. Whoever wins here will definitely have an impact on potentially slipping in. Having observed both stables, I think the Clovis Lancers have luck on their side, and a really strong grasp of the game. 3XL engines could leave them vulnerable. Carstairs Stables, with big beefy boys, awesome 8Q Zombie, Battlemaster 3M Zombie Light, and Thunderbolt 7M Zombie Light. Well, it might not matter how lucky the cat is. It just never goes down the way you want it. Those beefy boys might walk up and just bite the Lancers in the butt. I'm predicting this match will be a 3-2 Carstairs victory.
This one's going to be the interesting one to watch. As Brett said, I mean, you've got 3XL engines versus Zombie and Zombie Light. This one's going to be the one to watch because, as I said in my special broadcast, the advantage of modern tech or updated engines versus the standard engines. This is going to be the one that puts the theories to the test. I really not too sure who's going to make this one. I'm going to chicken out, and I'm going to say it's going to be a tie, 2-2. Silence.
Game number 7. Game of the year, people. Game of the year. Hubris Inc. 4 wins, 0 losses, and a tie versus Riston's Rogues. 4 wins, 0 losses, and a tie. This is our current number 1 and number 2 standing stables, people. The Ristons tied the Einhilyar and have taken down the Ghost Legion, Macross Stables, Shite Hawks, and the Carstairs Stables. While Hubris Inc. has taken down Ghost Legion, start to see a trend there, Red Sons Irregulars, Einhilyar, and the Shite Hawks, while having a scheduled tie against the Macross Stables, the only thing marring her perfect record.
I just wanted to make sure everybody had a good game.
I'm going to put in my bet. I've been saying it all year. Riston Rogues are my boys. I'm going to say this comes down to a 4-3 win for Riston's Rogues.
Man, you got to look at the schedule. This is going to be rock'em sock'em match for sure. Riston's being one of my oldest friends, going way back to the late 90s. He's got to be my favorite for this match. I want to see him win and bring it home. Both of these players beat me, so I'm going with long-time friendship over new-time friendship. And it's all going to come down to what round that Devastator drops, though. I think this is going to be a 4-3 victory for the Rogues.
This is going to be a bloodbath, pure and simple. Number 1, number 2, both set up to start the playoffs in a great position. This is going to be no quarter asked, no quarter given. The Devastator for Hubris is going to be a key factor. Can it land shots? Can it survive? But the Risten's Rogues, they're plucky. I honestly don't know who to call this one for, and I don't want to chicken out and say a tie. Just have you guys laugh at me again. I'm going to wait and see how this one develops. I'm not going to make a call.
We laugh at you for way more things than just your calls, Jacques. Game number 8, we'll see the Merrick's Marauders. 3 wins, 1 loss, and a tie. Come thundering down to lay some smackdown on those killer bunnies. 2 wins, 3 losses, and no ties. I gotta say, I've been calling the Killer Bunnies as a top league member. I still believe it. I'm absolutely stunned that I am where I am in the standings. I'm going to actually call this a 3-3 tie.
Don't count the bunnies out. Both of these stables have a solid record, and this could be going either way. Merrick Marauders have the edge in experience, but we might see Thumper's revenge here as the bunnies bounce to another victory and stay in the running for a playoff spot. Marauders need this as a win to try and cement their place in 6th. 3-2 victory, though, for the Marauders. Probably how this is going to play out, but I'm going to be a little selfish, and I would love to see the Bunnies' victory drop the Marauders down a peg in the standing.
Marauders are going down. Bunnies keep going and going and going and going, and the Marauders just don't have the staying power. That archer is going to probably fall flat on his face, self-crit an ammo bin, and we're going to see him explode from orbit. But this one's going to the Bunnies. It's going to be 4-3.
Oh, another factor that might play highly into this game. Bunny's Grand Dragon uses the engineering skill to swap out the LRM launcher for a pair of SRM launchers. Tied in with the melee expert that mech has, gonna be a close range threat going 6-9. The Dragonfire picks up Personal Vendetta. Expect some Marauder to have a bad day.
You'd almost think I might have taken Personal Vendetta expecting that Grand Dragon to be a problem. Game number 9. We see the executive outcomes. 3 wins, 1 loss, and a tie, who are sitting in 5th overall versus the Shite Hawks, who are sitting at, not last, but darn close, at 0 wins, 4 losses, and a tie. I know the Shite Hawks are what we would call green on the vine, still so ripening. They haven't even been picked. But with the help of some of our more experienced players like the Outcome and Riston Rogues, they've been making some serious strides for improvement. They've been getting some serious off-campus coaching from those 2 teams. I really like some of the understanding Michael's getting on skills and tactics, but the executive outcome haven't taught him everything. They're still holding a little bit of information back. I think the executive outcome's going to take this 3-1. And also, selfishly, Brett, I'd love to see the Shite Hawks take a win, especially their first win, but the executive outcome's going to win.
This is a game where both players are showing up to have a good time. They're going to roll some dice, blast some stompy robots. Shite Hawks have been banking a lot of skill points, and I think that's really going to hurt them in this match. I think it's going to play out in the score, not in the outcome, but if they'd had those skills in a whole lot earlier, it could have changed the outcome. Outcome's going to come down with a victory, though. 2-0, I think, when the buzzer blares at time.
Well, it's nice to see that the executive outcome is finally getting some traction. But when all is said and done, they've had a rough time this season. I'm thinking the Shite Hawks won't be able to stop them, but they're going to give them a run for their money. This one's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm thinking 2-1 for the outcome. The Shite Hawks are going to get a kill, at least.
Well, that makes up for our show this week, guys. Glad to get back onto our regular schedule. Love you all. Love playing against every one of my opponents, and I look forward to observing and taking notes on everybody's games. You have all a great week.
Well, that's it for us again, ladies and germs. Hope you enjoyed the show. Again, without you, the fans, we are nothing, and we appreciate that. You all have yourself a good week. Stay frosty.
If you've made it this far, apparently you like the sound of our voices, or at least the content of our show. With that in mind, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, do all of the things that are supposed to be done. Shameless plug here. Really appreciate all of our international viewers and all of the feedback that we get. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Coming at you like a shot to the cockpit. Good night and lights out.